It's a small step, and you should take it anyway. That's today's devotion. I am on day 11, and we're shifting from letting go and releasing, and we're moving forward. And it's so this scripture, this devotional for today is so on point because yesterday I had my individual counseling session and I shared with my counselor that I had been fired, and she said that she was like, since we began having counseling, or I began receiving her counseling, that she's noticed a shift in my energy and my demeanor. She said, previously she felt like I was trapped. And I said, you're exactly right. I felt like a caged animal. I felt trapped. I felt like my back was against the wall and I had no way out. And that's a horrible, horrible feeling. You guys, I was miserable. But here I am, almost a year. I began counseling with her on August 27th. She looked in her book, in her, the computer. That was our first session. And I was going weekly. And then eventually I pulled back, and I think I did bi-weekly, then maybe like every 3 weeks, and then a month. And that's where I was at when I left to go on my 6-week solo adventure. If you're just joining me, I'm Brandy. This is my channel, The Runaway Reset. I talk about my recovery from burnout. I talk about how I am healing myself through travel, specifically solo travel as a married woman. And I talk about starting over at 50 and not having it all figured out, learning how to surrender. And so, here I am, almost, it's been 2.5 weeks since I returned from my 6-week solo adventure. I haven't crashed emotionally, and I'm still figuring it out. I am like, what's next? It's funny because before I went on the trip, I was on a Zoom with the ladies who I was in Chiang Mai with. And I was already talking about after the trip. And one of them had to remind me, girl, you haven't even gone on the trip. Because I'm like, I've been fixated on earning an income. And I've talked about that in previous videos, how I have been independent my entire life. And then I've had to rely on my husband. Some of you might be like, well, that's what husbands are for. You got a husband. But when you have been the breadwinner, when you've been the single parent, when you have been the doer, it's difficult to rely on another individual. I felt like I've had, my resources have been limited, that I can't move and pivot like I want to. But what if I stopped choosing to live in the way that society deemed acceptable for a married woman? What if I stopped allowing myself to, just march to the beat of everyone else's drum? That's what this journey has been teaching me. It's also been teaching me not to be so fixated on the destination, to be able to enjoy the journey. It's helped me regain trust in myself that I lost over the years, assimilating as a wife, as a mother, conforming to what society deemed acceptable. Traveling with my husband, or maybe with some female friends or family, but always going with others, until I said enough is enough. And I was like drowning and needed to, I ran away, y'all. I wanted to run away. I wanted to start a new life somewhere else. But I've seen memes and things that have said, you shouldn't have to run away from your life. Create the life that you want, that you don't need to run away from. And that's what I'm currently doing. I am trying to create the life that I want to live. I am learning how to move, to not get comfortable in a rut, to move when I'm fearful, when I don't have all the answers, to trust in myself, my ability to be resourceful, my ability to be resilient, to trust that God's got me, that, the things that I have prayed for, that realizing and looking back over my life, God has blessed me far beyond those things that I've prayed for. And so to trust that He knows what is best for me, but to also take action and not become a victim in my circumstances, to not allow what others believe to shape my beliefs. Yesterday, I took my son up to his college so that we could look for apartments and, find one because he's going to live off campus and make sure that other ends were tied up. And when we got home, he talked about how, living off campus, I don't know, some of his friends might not take the bus. And I mean, the apartment that we were looking at is really walkable, but whatever. And I said, that is one of the issues that I have about living here in the suburb and actually Indiana. I dislike the lack of public transportation and how much you have to rely on a car to get from A to Z. I remember growing up in Chicago and how independent myself and my peers were because we had access to public transportation. We had to get permission from our parents to go to wherever is that we were trying to go to. However, we all worked or, had our money, whatever, and could get on the bus. And just how empowering that was for us, just how much independence it gave us. And so I told my son, look, I don't want you to ever adopt that mindset, because if you don't have a car, you're going to be reliant on people. And that is not a place that you want to be. Independence is the name of the game. And so we talked about that. I also told him about how he might have to step outside of his immediate circle, his friends, his family, to find his community. That's what I did. And it has been such a blessing for me to find a group of people who are breaking barriers, who are, marching to the beat of their own drum. I started thinking recently, like, what's next? I'm still trying to grow this business. It is a challenge trying to start a business, trying to grow it from the ground up. And it's just you're everything. You wear all the hats, and then do it while I have perimenopause, do it with ADHD. You're talking about challenges. It's been something else. But you know what else it's been? It's been a blessing. It has been so beautiful and frustrating, but I am learning through this process to take the good with the bad. I have a thought for how I want to begin the next phase. I was talking to my husband yesterday and telling him an idea that I had based off of YouTube now changing and offering shows and informing creators that you can take your playlist and make them into a show. The reason that many of you have found me is because I set on this 6-week solo adventure, and I've been sharing my life, my experiences with you. And some of those videos have taken off and gotten lots of views. So you may have found me because I've talked about my experience as a Black woman. I've shared my experiences with leaving the corporate world. I've shared experiences about, being in a predominantly Muslim country and how I felt. shared my experiences about my family and the disappointment and the need to create boundaries. A lot of those things, but they've all been the result and the reason that you found me is because I chose myself. Because I said, I'm going to go do this and I'm going to do it alone. And I'm choosing me. And it's been awesome. I've been so grateful for your engagement, for you sharing your experiences. Some people, I've lost followers. I understand that I am not going to, the things that I say and I do may not resonate with everyone. And that's something that I'm learning. I don't understand why trolls are trolls. But hey, it's engagement, nevertheless. But I am really trying to, create the life that I want to live and do it unapologetically and authentically as possible because I am can no longer conform to what society says. I don't want to be put in a box. I want to live outside the box. I want to color outside the lines. And I encourage you to do so. I encourage you to get out of your own way, to get out of your rut. So often I talk to people and I hear a lot of, excuses. I've been one of those people and I've made excuses, but I also have been someone who has gotten out of my own way, who has moved despite not having all the answers. Someone who has surrendered and just like, I got to give up control. I can't control everything. I can't control if somebody is going to offer me a job. I can't control if you're going to watch my video and like it. I can't control, I can't control anything. I can't control a lot. And getting to that point it's taken a lot. I had to move out of my own way. And I encourage you to move out of your own way. What does it look like if you're a married woman? If instead of saying, I am a married woman, what does it look like if you said, I am an individual who is married? Bring back the individuality. You are an individual first and foremost. I have been so tired of people talking about, well, you're a wife or you're a mother or, just different expectations for why I shouldn't or can't do something. That no more. I'm tired of, having to show up in a certain manner and way and allowing others to dictate how I show up. What does it look like to shed that and to just be free and be you? If you're not hurting anyone, be you, be uniquely and beautifully you. That's what I am learning. That is what I am trying to choose to do. And it's difficult. It takes a lot of work when you have to retrain your mind, retrain your thoughts and your beliefs, and begin to color outside the lines to know that, all right, this might be a lonely journey. I'm going to have to leave some people where they are. People may not appreciate your growth. People may not appreciate the changes that you're making. Everybody can't have access to you. I've said that before and I will say it again. Each of us has a journey that we are on and we have to live, embark on that journey. And sometimes it means going it alone. But I'm going to say this. Every time that I have taken a solo trip, I have grown. I become more confident. I trust myself. I meet so many people and have been blessed with so many experiences that I would not have had if I didn't go alone. So I encourage you to begin planning your first solo trip. Take that small step. You don't have to necessarily know where you want to go just yet, but you have the desire, start there. Begin looking at other creators who have traveled solo. What has their experience been? You know, just beginning to shift your mindset and say, I want to do that is enough. So, that's it for today, y'all. That's all. I'm really trying to get back to vlogging daily. It was good for me. It helped with building consistency and showing up consistently. And, talking to you guys. I'm working on some things. My plan is to set up a Zoom or a Google Meet, because I won't be using Zoom, a Google Meet to invite you so that I can meet you. I can get to know you, because I don't want it to just be about, my experience. You found me, you're searching for something. I want to get to know you. So, of course, I'm going to let you know when I do it, because how else would you know? And I really look forward to meeting you. I appreciate you for watching. I appreciate you for engaging. And I'm going to talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day. Take care.